Okay, hi everybody. So, welcome. You're probably watching us on YouTube or maybe Facebook or LinkedIn. My name is Edie Summers, and I have a very special guest today, Anita Adams. And we're going to be talking about Anita's book that's coming out. And Anita's book is called Whispers of the Soul. So, we'll get to that in just a little bit. We're also talking about learning the wisdom way to creating a life that you love. So, Anita, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Edie. This is wonderful.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love to interview people, and congratulations, by the way, on getting your life coach certification through Mind Valley.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been working on that for a while, so it's exciting to have the certifications in place. So.
That is so great. And so everybody, I'm going to share a little bit about Anita's background to start. So Anita Adams is a bold and tenacious coach, podcaster, speaker, author, and world traveler. And after spending nearly 2 decades leading a national nonprofit, she courageously decided to listen to her inner wisdom and pivot to something more soul nourishing. So today, Anita is on a mission to help others find their true joy, raise the collective consciousness, and design a life bursting with meaning, impact, and well-being. And when she's not coaching, recording, or penning her next book, you'll find Anita exploring the world with her husband, best friend, and partner in crime of 36 years. So Anita, I love, that's a really great bio. I really love that. Is there anything that you want to add to that, kind of like sharing anything else about your background, backstory, anything along those lines?
Sure. I guess the what brought me here and where I am today is actually going through a major low, more than just a low. I was in this funk, this anxiety riddled life. And it was at the beginning of the pandemic. Can I tell you? Can I tell you the story? Are you up for a little storytelling?
Absolutely. I would love to hear it, and I know that everyone listening would too.
Yeah, so it was early in the pandemic, and I just became this other woman, somebody I didn't even recognize, somebody that was, I had a bottle of Fantastic in one hand, an old rag in another hand, running around behind my family, wiping down every surface they touched. I had signs posted throughout the house that would scream, "Stop, wash your hands." And I would insist that my family come in through the basement door, where they would immediately be required to strip down their clothes and throw everything in the washing machine. Like I just became this crazy woman. I wouldn't let anybody else do the grocery shopping because I had this system that would, take care of the germs by putting everything into bins and making them sit out on the back deck for at least 24 hours before coming in the house. And that worked fine until like the local critters got into my bins. And I could see them.
Never know, yeah.
A raccoon, with my nut bread, and I would just lose it. So it was,
Oh my gosh.
I was at that state, but it wasn't just what was going on in the world with the pandemic. I mean, that was everything that kind of set everything into motion. What was really driving my anxiety over the edge and spinning me into this vortex of worry and despair and fear was that my business got really hit hard. And I was the founder of a national arts organization that I ran for 18 years. And it was my baby. I built it from the ground up, and overnight, all of my sponsors pulled out, all of my partners pulled
Oh
out,
my
and I
goodness.
was going deeper and deeper
Oh,
and
wow.
deeper into debt, and it scared me. And it wasn't just the loss of the business. What I realized later, it was that fear of a loss of identity. I was somebody. I was somebody who was invited to all I was in the film industry, so it was a bit of
I was
glamour.
wondering, yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
And so, I promoted Canadian film and talent. So I was invited to
Mm,
all the film parties. I walked the red carpet at film festivals around the world. I sat on expert panels. I was interviewed by the media. I hobnobbed with the famous and almost famous. I felt like somebody, and that was really sparkly
mm,
and exciting inside. And
mm,
then overnight, it felt like I was going to lose it all. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. Who was I in this
mm,
world? I got a lot of validation from that job, from
mm,
that business, and I clung on to it like a life raft. And I would wander around talking to everybody and asking, what am I supposed to do? Like, I was so freaked out. What am I supposed to do? And one day I brought that question to my business coach, and she asked me, so Anita, what do you typically do when you're feeling stressed and anxious? I'm like, well, I usually go for a walk in nature. I love
mm,
being around, the Douglas fir trees and
yeah.
whatnot. She's like, perfect. Here's what you're going to do for the next, 30 days. Every day, you are going to go for a walk in nature.
Hmm.
Well, no, I
You're
can't.
like, how is this gonna solve?
Yeah, I can't do this. Like, who's got time for that? And in my head, I'm thinking, what kind of business coach tells her clients to go for a nature walk? I need business advice, not nature therapy. But
Hmm.
she insisted.
Interesting.
And so the only way I could find to make it work, to find the time to make it work, was if I got up at the crack of dawn before anybody else was up.
Mm,
And I went for the nature walks, and I'm a stickler for commitments, if you will. I believe if
mhm.
you make a commitment, you need to honor that commitment,
Yeah.
and so I honored the commitment, and every morning I was out in nature walking, and I was that same question I was demanding of the universe. What am I supposed to do? And
Hmm.
I was angry all the time and tense and just built up this frustration. But slowly over time, these early morning walks helped to lower that anxiety, reduce
Mhm, mhm.
the
Yeah.
the the fear, and I started to connect with my environment. And more than that, I started to
Mm,
fall in love with this beautiful natural environment that I was in.
yeah.
And from this place of feeling love and gratitude and calm, I asked again, what am I supposed to do?
Hmm.
This time I heard an answer. An
Oh,
answer
wow.
an answer bubbled up from within, and the answer was, "What do you want to do?" I guess it was more of a question. A question that came back to me, "What do you want to do?" And,
Mhm,
we've all spoke to ourselves. We've all had that, dialogue, that internal dialogue, but this was something different. I felt like it was like an older, wiser version of me.
mhm,
And I didn't miss a beat. And I'm like, "What do you mean, what do I want to do? What am I supposed to do?" No,
mhm,
Anita, the question is, what do you want to do?
mhm,
I don't know.
mhm.
I don't know. Yes, you do. And that was the turning point for
Wow.
me. That actually stumped me, and I ended up heading back home, and later that day, I went into the bookstore, clearly still seeking more answers because I found myself in the spirituality section. Book caught my eye, and the book was, Conversations with God by Neil
Oh,
Donald.
yeah. That's a
Such
great book. Yeah.
such a great book, and I opened it up, and this one line just leapt off the page, and it said, "Frustration and anxiety come from not listening to the soul."
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And
Such
that's when
synergy.
Yeah, and I really felt like there was something greater at work happening here, that I found this book, these
Mm,
words spoke to me deeply, and I
mhm,
realized I was not connecting. I was not listening to my soul, and I've
mhm,
been there before. I've misstepped, if you will, because I wasn't listening to that, what I call my soul voice or inner wisdom. And
mhm,
I was in this moment, I was remembering that I needed to find a way to reconnect with my soul. And that sent me on
mhm.
a journey, a mission, if you will, to figure out how to connect with my soul. And that
Oh my
ultimately
goodness.
that ultimately led to me completely recreating my life and getting onto this most remarkable journey. Like Edie, it's been incredible ever since I've started to really tune in and listen to that guidance. It's opened up my world in so many ways, opportunities, experiences, gifts, just
Mhm.
unbelievable. And it led me to ultimately write this book,
Yeah.
Whispers of the Soul, and to coach, host a podcast, and run retreats. And this is the guidance I was actually given, but I pushed it away for almost well a year. I pushed that guidance away for a year because it felt really big and scary. But here I am. I've leaned in, I've listened fully, and life has never been better.
Wow. And you're such a role model for doing this, I think, because I think that everybody wants to do this. And I think it can be yeah, it can be kind of scary, I think, to listen to actually what you want to do. I think were
Mm.
you gonna say something to that, Anita?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Like we're society has conditioned us to
Mhm.
take certain steps that we're supposed
Mhm.
to live a certain way. We're supposed to do certain things, and sometimes it's really hard to tune in and listen to your own
Mhm.
inner wisdom when we are bombarded by noise from the outside world. And that's been my journey is about looking inward. So in fact, I developed something I called the Wisdom Way, which you mentioned at the beginning of
Yes.
the show.
Yes.
And the Wisdom Way is a process. It's a practice, really, a practice for how to really create your most remarkable life, how to step into the best version of you. And it's
Mhm.
three simple pillars or principles. One
Mhm.
is look inward. It's all that inward looking journey. Carl Jung once said, who looks outward dreams, who looks inward awakens. And
Absolutely.
this is what we
Yeah.
are wanting, an awakening to who we really are. The second principle is to listen. And I talked a little bit about learning to listen, and I've got a process, and I'd be
Mhm.
happy to walk you through the process and how to tune in and listen. And then the third step, or the third process or principle rather, is to learn. And what is it that we need to learn? Well, we need to learn how to step into the best version of who we are, but we do
Mhm.
that one step at a time. If
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
when we listen to what our inner wisdom, divine guidance, God, source, higher self, whatever your word is for it, when we really tune in and listen to that part of us that is trying to guide us to our best self, we will be presented with a beautiful vision of our possibilities. One step at
Mhm.
a time. We might not see the full vision right away.
Yeah.
Um, as we build confidence
Mhm.
and lean into who we were meant to be in
Mhm.
this time, we see more and more and more of the journey that we are here to take. And
Wow.
our job is to learn that just the one step that's going to take us further. And then you learn the next thing and then the next thing. And it's a journey, which is why I call my podcast The Joyful Journey, because it's all about
Yes. And oh my goodness. And everybody, please check out Anita's podcast, The Joyful Journey. It is absolutely incredible. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. And Anita, there's so many questions I want to ask you, but first of all, let's start with your book, The Whispers of the Soul, and then we'll circle back to the Wisdom Way. But I definitely want to get into those steps. But when you talked about when your business coach recommended that you walk in nature, that made me think of when you started talking about your experience was you get more, not only do you feel more connected, but that clarity that comes when the anxiety goes down, and it just, and I can only imagine that's connected to kind of who your true self. But so could you talk about, so in your book Whispers of the Soul, you do talk about nature being a portal to your higher self. Could you explain that, and exactly how you would access that? And then
Yeah.
afterwards, maybe we can dive into some of the steps as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, nature. Yeah, I think it was Eckhart Tolle who first said nature is a portal to your higher self. I think that was him.
Wow.
And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, it's totally is. What happens when you connect with nature is it helps you to get out of your monkey mind, all that
Mm,
noise that is going on in here. You know, you're playing the replaying the argument you had with your partner or your kids in the morning, or you're worrying about the deadline that is looming that you have to get something done. So this is that monkey noise that's just nonstop.
mm,
And
sure.
when we don't take the time to step away from that, a lot of people are able to quiet the monkey noise through meditation,
Mhm.
and that meditation is a beautiful practice. Yet for a lot of people, and particularly myself, when I started on this journey, I found meditating, sitting, really hard. I couldn't
Mhm.
quiet that noise in my head. It was just constant, nonstop.
Yeah.
Even when I turned off my phone and I tried to sit and be still, I just really had a hard time. But when I was in nature, I found I could, over time, I could that noise, and I wasn't even intentionally going out with that. I was just fulfilling my commitment to my business goal, in nature every day. It just slowly happened over time. And now when I go into nature, I have a process that's very intentional, that gets me
Mhm.
very present. And so that is the goal, really, is presence. There's so much
Okay.
that happens in presence when we are
Present.
here in the now, instead of
Mm.
worrying about the future, or
Mhm.
replaying stories of the past. So
Mhm.
that's why
Okay.
me, so many people, they really turn to nature to find that presence.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And I know that Eckhart, I'm only going to say his first name because I'm not sure how to say his last name, but he really specializes in presence, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting that that quote comes from him because yeah, he's has so many profound quotes, and presence is
Mhm.
so powerful. And I would assume that you have to be present in order to hear your higher self and hear what your higher self is saying to you. And I like the idea of I need that. I like meditation and or yoga as a active meditation, but walking can be an active meditation too. And yeah, so it's whatever helps you particularly get there. So then, okay, so now could you talk about some of the steps that lead to accessing inner wisdom? You had mentioned three, but then I also see potentially five. Or is this connect? Are those different or are
Yeah,
they?
yeah, thank you. So the wisdom way has three
Yeah.
principles, and
Okay.
that's look, listen, learn. Principle
Right.
number 2, look, listen. That's really about presence and connecting to inner wisdom. So I have 5 steps
Okay.
to step into presence,
Got
um,
it.
and
Okay.
to connect with your inner wisdom. And so that those steps include simply getting out into a natural environment. So that's
Yeah.
step number 1. Get outside, get into nature. And that does not necessarily mean that you have to go into a wild space. It could be a community park. It could be sitting under a tree on a bench, in the neighborhood. It could be just going for a walk in the neighborhood, or sitting in your garden. The intent is to get away from the busyness of your day, and to get into a natural environment. The second step is to practice gratitude, and I like to speak my gratitude out loud.
Mhm.
Gratitude is, we hear a lot about the benefits and the beauty of a gratitude practice. What it ultimately does is it raises our vibrational frequency. And I know that sounds like woo-woo
Interesting.
language.
Mm-mm.
But
Not
there's
at all.
okay, good. It it gets us out of, the low energy negative, thoughts when we're, been thinking about
Mm.
the fight we had, or the argument we had with our partner, or that, the kids, the chaos in the morning, or whatever. When we step
Mhm.
into a gratitude practice, and when I say, like, when we practice gratitude, don't race through gratitude like, you're trying to do your 10 push-ups, just wanna get it done. You want to connect with the actual emotion and feeling
Yeah.
that you have for that, what you're grateful for.
Yeah, that makes
The
sense.
the third, the third step is to then get really present with your environment by noticing everything in your environment, using all of your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you even taste on the air? You know, like, or if you're familiar with the berries and they're safe, pop a berry.
Yeah, make sure they're safe. Make sure they're safe.
Exactly. No, you're popping. I live on the West Coast, and there's a lot of pine trees here. And one of the things I like to do that helps me if I'm having a hard time getting out of here and from in my head and into my heart, I'll break off a few pine needles, just smush them between my fingers and
Oh.
inhale. And it has a profound effect. I literally feel like just a dropping sensation into Mother Earth around me. And it
Wow.
immediately helps to, just create the space where I'm present to the here and now. So it's a good little trick to
That is a great tip.
if you're having a hard time. Yeah. And then the fourth thing. So again, step into nature. 1, 2, speak your gratitude. 3, get present with your environment. And the fourth step is to go inward and ask your higher self or God or the squirrels or the universe. And there's ask a multitude of questions, but where I like to start is, what do I want? What do I want? And really, really tune into that question. And the fifth and the final step is listen without judgment. And that's a hard one, particularly when you're first starting this process, because we have that inner critic and that negative voice that speaks up so quickly when a big idea lands, comes. If you hear, like, I'll just go back to in my storytelling when I started to really tune in and connect to my inner wisdom on that 30-day challenge. The first thing I heard was that I wanted to close my business. And I'm like, no, I don't. What? I was like, that can't be true. I want to save my business, don't I? And I was really challenged with that. And I had to keep coming back every day. And I kept asking now, I'm like, do I want to close my business? And the answer got louder and louder and stronger and stronger. And yes, I did. And I realized that I had actually lost my passion for that business a number of years ago. But again, fear just kept me holding on to it that I just didn't know what else I could possibly do. And then when, fast forward some time, and when I started to lean in and listen to now what do I want to do now? Because I made the decision to close my business and I took some time to wrap that up. Now what? And one of the first things that came to me was that I want to teach people how to listen to inner wisdom. And again, I'm like, no, I don't.
There's fear.
Yeah, fear kept showing up, and a unkind voice with it. Who are you to teach anybody anything? Was the first thing that came, right? Who would listen to you? And it's like, wow, there was clearly some self-love that needed to work on, which is another byproduct of time in nature, if you will, is this sense of love for self that emerges.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I know that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Anita, but I wonder if we can dive deeper into a couple of these topics, like self-love. You mentioned inner critic. Do you want to? Do any of those stand out to you as maybe?
I can talk.
What was that, Anita?
I said I can talk about either of those topics and both.
Yeah, maybe let's start with inner critic a little bit, and then maybe we could segue to self-love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, the inner critic, our friend that hangs out with us all the time. Yeah, really. And that inner voice that just, and you know what? The inner critic really loves you. The inner critic is trying to protect you. The inner critic is trying to keep you safe, right? Like that's where the inner critic comes from. It's the ego who's wanting to keep you safe, wants to keep you in the familiar. And we typically resist anything that's unfamiliar, which is why, changing habits can be so hard
Definitely.
because it's unfamiliar. And our ego wants to drive us back to what is safe and familiar and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We all have that inner voice of the inner critic that speaks up, and it's a matter of recognizing it, recognizing that voice. So we all also have access to inner wisdom. We all have that higher self that is speaking to
Okay.
us, and we often don't hear it though, because the inner critic is so loud. But when we take
Okay.
time to connect to our higher self, to our soul voice by spending time in nature or meditating or whatnot, that inner voice of inner wisdom, the soul voice gets louder, and it's easier to decipher between the inner voice of wisdom and the inner critic. And how you can decipher is by exploring, is this voice that speaks to me, is it coming from a place of love, or is it coming from a place of fear? And if it's coming from a place of fear, then that's your inner critic that's trying to protect you. If it's coming from a place of love, then that's coming from your inner wisdom. The challenge with this is that our inner voice of wisdom, our soul voice, is going to speak to us of our potential, and it can be scary. So the scariness of the big vision that our inner voice of wisdom is presenting can evoke fear. And then you're like,
Right. Exactly.
right. So
Oh, yes.
it takes practice to understand and connect with the soul voice and hear what and to decipher between the fear that it's causing. So if the voice is telling you, if it's criticizing, obviously that's your ego. If it's telling you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough, you're not talented enough, any of those not enoughnesses, that's your ego trying to protect you. And your inner voice is, on the other hand, is presenting a beautiful vision of, wow, like you can be this, you are this, you can be pretty much anything you put your heart into. That's your soul is guiding you through your heart's desires. So
Oh my goodness, Anita, there's so much here that I want to unpack, because I really feel like there's so much wisdom here. So before we go to self-love, which might be very much connected to this, when you tell me if I heard you correctly, you said that your soul's voice can also bring up fear. Did I hear that correctly? Then how did you move through that, and what would you suggest to other people? Because I feel like this might be a level where a lot of people that want to feel connected and empowered and raise the collective consciousness might be getting stuck at this point.
100%. And thank you for presencing that and asking that question. It's so important. What is key is consistency in connecting with your higher self, with God source, whatever your word is. For me, it's God. For me, God and higher self are actually one of the same. I really believe in a unity conscious, a universal intelligence that we tap into. We all have different ways of tapping into that. And when you connect to that source consistently, a confidence in yourself grows, a love of self grows. It's unavoidable when you connect on a consistent daily basis. You will grow a sense of confidence in yourself and the idea. So let me share another really a little story with you. So when I first got the whisper, if you will, to teach people how to connect with their higher self, with their inner wisdom, as I said, I pushed that away. But I had a few curious moments. I was like, what would that look like? So start there is my tip. Start with getting curious. What would that look like? You don't have to agree to anything. Just like get a little curious. And the first thing that came to me was like in my mind's eye, I saw myself owning and operating a retreat center, like a spiritual
Mm,
wellness retreat center.
mhm.
And that was very big and scary, and it's like, "Whoa," like, "No, that's just too big." Where would I find the money to even begin to do something like that? And again, I
Mhm.
kinda spiraled, but I got curious, it piqued my interest, and then I retreated.
Yeah.
And then, another time this is always on my nature walks when I'm being curious. I'm like, "Okay, that feels big and scary. What else? Well, how else
Mhm.
could I, teach people to connect with inner wisdom?"
Yeah.
And the idea of, hosting a podcast and running retreats out of the place I was living, and
Mhm.
writing a book, came to me. I'm like, yeah, no, yeah," it just kinda it just felt really uncomfortable, and again, I pushed it away. Now, Edie, I pushed it away for almost a full year, and it was, in July of, 2021, my husband and I went on a really big, epic kayaking trip, a 5-week kayak trip.
Oh my goodness.
We
How
left
fun.
it was amazing, but here's the thing, just the year before, I had told my husband and our closest friends I would never go on a kayaking trip, that was in, single boats. I would be happy to go on for a
Mm,
week at most in a double boat, but I would never go in a single seat kayak.
mm.
So here I am sitting in single seat kayak, and I had, like, by this time, I had paddled over, 300 miles up the coast, up Canada's coast,
Wow.
and unassisted, and I
Oh my
was
goodness.
sitting in the ocean, and it was flat, flat calm, and it was beautiful. It was hot. I took my hat off and I dipped it in the water and I put it back on my head, and I could just feel the cool water rushing down my back. And I could, see there was a couple seals off the bow of my boat.
Mhm.
There was an eagle in the tree, and just it was
Wow.
magical. And I
Wow.
was feeling so in love and in awe of this
Yeah.
environment. So hear me. I'm deeply connected to my environment right now, like
Yeah.
deeply connected. And in that moment, I hear that inner voice, be it my future self, my higher self, whatever it was, and it simply said, "It's time." And
Oh
I
my goodness.
and I realized that it's time for me to stop playing small. It's time for
Mhm.
me to lean in and step up to what I feel I've been called to do. And I realized that I have done something. I had paddled over 300 miles up Canada's west coast, where a year ago I had said I could never do anything like that. So what other self-limiting beliefs have been holding
Mm.
me back?
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's when I committed again. That's when I get back from this trip, I'm going to lean into what my inner wisdom is guiding me to do. And I
Wow.
started that journey. And yeah, there you go. So,
That is
but
a fantastic story. Oh, go ahead.
no, okay, yeah, just the self-love piece,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
really is tightly woven in this
Okay.
journey,
Yeah.
because, as I invested time in nature, I'm investing time to get to know myself, really. So that's,
Mhm.
the
Mm.
inward looking, journey of getting to
Mm.
know who you are, what you
Okay.
want, why it matters. Those are 3 really great questions. Who am I? What
Mm.
do I want? Why does it matter? And these are
Mhm.
3 questions I highly recommend coming back to time and again to explore, 'cause we
Mm.
evolve, we change who we are, what we want, why it matters. It's important to understand the answers to these questions, and you find deep clarity in that. And when you find clarity in who you are and what you want and why it matters, there also emerges a love for self. And I feel that there's
Hmm.
a love I actually feel that the love, came for me anyways, and I know others who I've spoken to have experienced this, and maybe you have too, Edie, if you were a nature girl, and I think you do, like, you enjoy nature well,
Yes,
don't
I am. I'm a nature girl.
you? Yeah. When I'm in a natural environment, I start to, really feel connected and love for
Yeah.
the environment, and
Yeah.
I start to notice how perfect this environment is in its imperfection.
Yes.
It's it is
Mhm.
imperfect. It's perfect in its
Mm.
imperfection, like the gnarls on the, the sides of the trees. There's here on the West Coast, there's something called do- dogs dogs vomit mold. It's I know, right?
Oh
And
my
it's
goodness,
this
what a name.
yellow, yeah, yeah, and it's yellow and kind of gross looking, but also really cool and beautiful in its kind of strange way. And it's perfect in its imperfection. And in
Mm,
recognizing how perfect nature is in its imperfection, I started to feel more connected to my imperfections and
mhm,
accepting my
mhm.
imperfections. And with that, some more love started to emerge. So, yeah.
Oh, that is, Anita, you have such a gift for explaining very clearly steps and also like the process of what it's like to become more empowered, I
Mm,
think.
thank
Because I
you.
think I think the way can feel very, I don't even know what, like kind of what you were saying before about what was it? Well, it can feel more mystical or confusing or like, oh, this is too, whether it's due to the ego or not enough self-love or not feeling connected enough. You
Mm,
seem to have a very clear way of explaining that this is possible and then the clear, simple ways to get there. So that's I think that's definitely a gift of yours. And
thank you.
yeah, and I completely relate to it. Makes sense to me that when you are in nature, I feel that greater sense of connection as well. And I love how you make that connection with nature is not perfect, but it's beautiful in its imperfection, and then how that can lend itself to understanding yourself better and loving yourself more. But then
Mhm.
how all of this is connected to kind of finding that courage to. I think we've all heard that our voice, and it can get drowned out. I can definitely. I think that's also you. You are very good at reminding us of. I think you cannot even be aware that it's getting drowned out, right?
Oh,
Because
100%.
there's
Yeah.
so much going on that you don't realize you either yeah, so that you even have a voice. Or go ahead, did you want to speak to that? I just think that's really profound.
Yeah, and I've said it already, and I want to say it again. It's really the consistency that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. Um, Last month, I was not consistent as I usually am. I was helping
Mhm.
family with a big move, and it ended up becoming consuming a significant amount of my time, and I didn't make it a priority to connect with nature,
Mm,
connect with
mhm,
my higher self and that's because that's my portal in. Um, and consequently, self-doubt really crept into my beingness. And I
mhm,
just wasn't as happy, joyful, energized. I just felt this weightiness on me. And the uncertainty about my future started to
mhm,
emerge
mhm.
again. And I'm like,
Right,
what is
right.
going on here?
You're like, wait a second.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, what's changed?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I haven't been doing my spiritual practice. That's what's
Mhm.
changed." And I started to get back into nature and do the things that I do that takes care of my soul,
Yeah.
and the confidence came back instantly, instantly.
Mm, mhm. I love that. No,
Yeah,
that is such a great reminder. And then I love it when you also mention confidence too, because people, I mean, I never thought of applying the concept of confidence. Like we think of it in coaching, but applying it to your own growth, like inner growth and path, like purpose, like that
yeah.
you still need to build that confidence. And then taking those small steps can help you being consistent. Um, that's a really great way of, it's a great reminder. And I hadn't thought of it from that angle before. So, and Anita, I don't know what your time frame is like. I don't want to keep you. However, you let me know when you need to go.
I'm good.
Okay, but could you talk? So tell us about your book that's coming out,
Yeah.
Whispers of the Soul. It's coming out next year. Is
Yeah,
that
early next year, January, end of January is when I'm going to release it. It's a lot. It's my journey. It's the story. It starts with the story that I started here with today, and sharing how I was driven into the forest. There's a beautiful quote by John Muir that I love, and it's
mm,
"Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." And I
oh.
feel that and captures what happened with me. And then so the journey, sharing that journey and the process and the discovery, and then the creation of the wisdom way method. It's a practice, really. It's a practice that I teach my clients through my coaching practice. And it really, when we lean into these three guiding principles, look, listen, learn, we become so capable of so much. That's where we really tune into who we are, and how to move forward. When we can develop our listening skills and learn to tune out the noise of the world and connect with that higher source, that inner wisdom, so much is possible. So much is possible
Absolutely.
for our lives. And we all have this ability. We all innately have this inner wisdom that is connected to a universal wisdom that is guiding us to
Mm,
our highest, our best self. And when
mm.
we learn to access that, wow, wow, there's
Wow.
so much that
It's
is possible. So much that is possible. And then the next part, the learn, that's that's the easy bit. That's the easy bit, is
mm,
to learn how to move forward with a vision, a
mhm,
big dream. I think we should all have big dreams. And when we listen to our soul, the big dream is revealed. And they can change. Your
mhm.
dreams can change for sure, because they're guiding
Absolutely.
you along a path as we evolve. Um, but that the learning part is really that's exciting and easy, especially when you learn listen, when you learn to tune in and listen. Yeah.
Well, I love that. I think you and I are both around the same age, and it's true that things change, right? Like you can have a vision for yourself or think that you have one, or even if you do, it can still you can develop a new purpose or a bigger vision. And yes, it can feel scary, but it's also very exciting, I think. And I just think it's interesting how dreams can evolve. But
100%.
yeah,
And and
yeah,
we've got to learn to follow our dreams. My
yeah.
dream years ago was I wanted to be like the Meryl Streep of Canada.
Oh
So
wow,
acting was my passion.
yeah.
And I remember one of my acting coaches had said to me that it is our job to follow our dreams with all of our heart, because it's only then will we find the path we are truly meant to be on. And it may be
Gosh.
completely different than the path you set on. Like me, I set on to be an actor, and it's taken
Mhm.
me down this incredible journey. I don't regret any of the dreams I've had. Before
Yeah,
that, it started as I wanted to be a runway model around the world.
yeah.
So, and that took me to learn something new, that took
Mhm.
me to learn something new, that took me
Yeah.
to learn. So it was, when I look back over the, years of me dream chasing,
Mm,
dream
mhm.
has taken me on a journey to my highest self. And it's not
Ooh.
who knows where I'm going to be in, the next 50 years, or God allow me to live that long. Um, that's our mission. That's our purpose, is to live. Our purpose
Mm,
is all of our purpose is to live the most full life possible. And we do
mm,
that by following our dreams, and then
mm.
finding the next thing and the next thing. And that steps us into a fulfilled and full life.
And I love that, and I love how you say that our dreams. Did you say our dreams lead us to our purpose? Like
Yeah. I,
that
I
is
believe I believe our all of our purpose is to live fully and to
wonderful.
embrace life. And then we have
Mm, mm.
additional life purposes within that. And there's
Love
I
it. Yeah.
believe there's more than one life purpose.
Right, right. And so Anita, so first of all, if someone wanted to find your book, how could they know when it's coming out? Let's start there.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I would love to offer your listeners a gift. It's a sort of encompasses my 3 guiding principles to connecting with inner wisdom and creating a life you love. So you can access that by going to joyfuljourney.ca, and then I'll send you a free download of a lot of the stuff we talked about today. And there's a few more things in there that will help you on your journey. And when you do that, you'll also be in the loop. You'll receive
Perfect.
updates from me about when my
Okay.
book is launched. I send out weekly wisdom nuggets, if you will, through my email campaigns. The goal is to try to elevate. I give a lot. I give a lot of tips that will help people create the life they really want to create and step into the best version of themselves. So there you go.
I think that, okay, so thank you for saying that. So joyfuljourney.ca for CA for Canada.
Yeah.
Joyfuljourney.ca. Perfect. I'll try to put that on the YouTube page.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then other places that I'm sharing. And then I'd like to sign up for that too. So and now, so Anita, if you're offering coaching, because you just got certified as a life coach, and I think you're certified through other coaching as ways as well. If someone wanted to work with you, let's say have you as their coach or do your retreats, how would they get signed up for that?
Yeah, I recommend visiting my website, and it's joyfulinspiredliving.com. And I have a 3-month program that I do. It's basically it's teaching you the wisdom way and helping you create that practice so you can move powerfully into alignment with who you were born to be. It's a great program. It's a really fabulous, been getting wonderful results with my clients. So yeah, check that out, joyfulinspiredliving.com. You can email me at anita@joyfulinspiredliving.com. And yeah, those are the best ways to learn more and connect. And I offer, free discovery calls where you get on a call to learn more about how I can serve you and what you're looking for.
Nice. And then, so Anita, if you want to, do you have any final takeaways? So I have the title here as Learning the Wisdom Way to Create a Life That You Love. Is there anything else you want to make sure that people understand or know about the wisdom way to create a life they love here in our time together that I haven't asked you or that hasn't come up yet?
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I think perhaps the biggest challenge I have seen with clients is that they get busy. They have a hard time carving out time for themselves. And if you knew beyond any doubt that you could achieve the greatest dreams if you only invested 20, 30 minutes a day on yourself, would you do it? Would you do it? 20, 30 minutes a day of connecting with your higher self is what is all that's needed, and you'll see tremendous growth. So make you a priority. Make you a priority.
Make you a priority. I really love that. That's a really great tip. I'm going to write that one down. Make you a priority. Well, it's true because we all, it's interesting. That's a great point that we all get busy and we can get busy with things that we don't even want to be doing.
Totally.
Right. And life is, it's precious. I think it takes a lot of courage to really allow yourself to do what you're called to do and what you wish to do.
Just taking time for yourself, we just simply don't. And if you carved out time consistently for yourself to nurture your soul by meditating or going for a walk in nature or whatever your soul care looks like, you will actually be more productive. You'll be more productive if you just try to power through your day without taking care of yourself.
Oh, that's such a great tip too as well, Anita. And you have so much wisdom and you really do. And I felt it immediately when I met you. And And everybody, remember to check out Anita's podcast. So Anita, can you tell people, tell people how to find your podcast, and then we'll circle back to your free gift one more time, so that's fresh. But
yeah,
her podcast is amazing, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm excited that I have Edie Summers joining us on the podcast. She's we recently released our interview, didn't we? So really,
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
you're great at interviewing too, by the way.
You made a great guest. Oh, the love we're sharing. So yeah, it's called, the podcast is The Joyful Journey with Anita Adams, and it's on all major podcast platforms. So you just, search on, if you're on Spotify or YouTube or iTunes, and we are on YouTube too. I actually just started putting our interviews up on YouTube, so you can find us. Find me there. And it's and again, the gift, same name as the podcast, joyfuljourney.ca.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a free gift, everyone, that you can get from Anita, and also it will get you signed up so that you know when Anita's book comes out, Whispers of the let me just make sure I'm saying your book's name, Whispers of the Soul. Yeah. Anita, thank you so much for being here. And is there anything else, any final takeaways, anything else that you feel you want to share? Or
I think we covered a lot. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Edie. It's such a delight to be here to share the lessons I've learned on my personal journey, and to touch base with you and your community.
Thank you so much, Anita. And everybody, thank you for listening and or watching. And we'll talk to you all soon. So take care, everybody. And thanks again, Anita. And I'll see you. I'll talk to you soon, hopefully, or see you in the online space. Yeah, awesome. Bye, everybody. Take care. Okay.